Wanted to make sure everybody was focused on the presentation by our finance director here at 1 o'clock on April the 26th on the mayor's budget. And we are all looking forward to that very much. And with that, and also Rosie has sent to everyone's inboxes a schedule of Budget and Finance Committee hearings on operating and capital budget in May, following very much the Pridemore tradition of a very thorough set of meetings. So I hope everybody is prepared and ready to go. And with that, Resolution RS 2017-615, sponsor Councilman Glover, requests all officers, department directors, and other heads of all boards, commissions, authorities, and other agencies of Metro government submitting requests for funds for the ensuing fiscal year for capital improvements to the Director of Finance as required by the Charter of Metro Government to submit copies of such requests to the Metro Council at the same time of such submissions to the Director of Finance. Is there a motion? Motion and second, and discussion. Councilman Glover.
I don't want to be repetitive because we're going to talk, I think, a little more in depth on the next resolution that I have. But Mr. Jamison, I think if we look at deferring, is it agreed that we can defer 2 meetings before we throw any wrench into the into this pocket?
Correct. Rule 23 gives you, it's the third strike that makes it indefinite.
Okay, so I think what we're going to do, Chairman, is I'm going to look at deferring this for 2 meetings because that way it will allow us to have the conversation during the budget process. We're already basically on it now, so I think that would move us to the mid-May meeting, correct?
Second meeting in May.
Yeah, second meeting in May. And I know there's some other things that are being worked on, so I think it might be a more helpful and a more beneficial conversation to wait until that time frame and do it then. So with that, I will ask the committee to defer 2 meetings.
Okay, motion to defer 2 meetings. Motion made, a second. All in favor of deferring 2 meetings, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the resolution is deferred until the second meeting in May. Resolution RS 2017-616, sponsored by Councilman Glover, adopts a policy requiring a limitation on the amount of debt service funds appropriated for the amortization of general service bonds and urban service bonds in the annual operating budget of Metro government in relation to the total expenditures of the annual operating budget for all purposes. Is there a motion? Motion and second, and back to Councilman Glover.
All right, thank you. Once again, Mr. Jamison, let's walk through. This is a resolution. It doesn't tie the city's hands. Am I incorrect on that?
No, you're correct.
Okay. And so, again, I'm going to defer this one for 2 meetings because I think we need to have a robust conversation about this, simply because when we hit the next economic downturn, and we will, we need to go ahead and be thinking ahead. I'm not necessarily saying it'll happen with this term of the council, but certainly I think by maybe the next term. So with that, it'll put it right in the middle of the conversation of budget when we're in the budget hearings. And so therefore, I would respectfully ask to defer 2 meetings until this second meeting in May.
Okay. A motion made and seconded. Councilman Mendez.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. I appreciate Councilman Glover's work on this, and I understand that it's going to be deferred, but I wanted to take an opportunity to maybe try to get us learning some more information that's relevant for this. And I don't know who the right person is for this, but if the chair doesn't mind, I have a couple of requests for information or maybe things that we can get to us by the time it comes up again. First, is there, does Metro have a written policy about how we decide what our debt capacity is?
I will ask our finance director.
We have an overall debt policy, but I do not believe that it has a specific reference to debt capacity.
Okay. Can we get a copy of the debt policy? And then I guess even if it's not written, I'm sure from conversations with y'all and hearing conversation on the floor last year, there's at least if not written a informal strategy that you all have about debt capacity and how much is too much debt, how much is where there's room to go, and if there were any kind of description, and you don't have to put in writing, but at some point I would like to hear some input about how you all think about that.
No problem at all.
Okay. And then two other things, Mr. Chair. One is it strikes me that if we're going to talk about specific percentages, that one of the things we need to wrap our brains around is the sensitivity to the overall percent that is debt service to expenditures, how sensitive that is to increases in our revenue. For example, last year revenue went up 120 million. By my rough calculus, every 20 million of revenue increase lets us afford about 0.1% on debt capacity, and some sort of way for us to understand if we only had an increase of, say, 60 million in revenue instead of 120, how much does that change the percentage? Does it go from 10.1 to 10.3? Just some way to understand that. And I don't know who the right person is to help us understand that.
We'll prepare a response for you.
Okay, thank you. And then one more. I think there is, long-term debt, especially bonded debt, depending on the terms, is subject to being able to be refinanced or not, depending on market conditions. And if we could get some idea, and I know there's a schedule somewhere that says when different bond debt is due and how much it's going to be and what the terms are, and I imagine that's a matter of pulling an existing schedule. If we could get that shared with us, it would be great.
We actually provide you all an annual debt report when we file the budget, so I think some of that information is in there.
All right, thank you. That's all I have.
Well, thank you, Councilman. And let me point out that on May the 30th, on the current schedule, will be a treasurer's report for the Metro Treasurer to be here and hopefully discuss in detail the answers for some of your questions.
Thanks, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Council Lady Weiner. Oh, yes. There you go.
Thank you, Chair. I appreciate it. I, too, appreciate the work that Councilman Glover has put into this, and I just have a couple of additions to what Councilman Mendez has asked. I'm curious how other cities with budgets that are comparable to ours handle the bond issues. And I was hopeful that somebody could do a little bit of research to find out different strategies that they employ or don't employ. You know, there may not be anybody else out there that does this, but I would just be curious to see how other comparable cities manage this piece of it. Do they restrict the level? Do they tie it to a certain benchmark in terms of revenue? So I think having a little additional information in that regard might give us some information, rather, as to what other communities do. So that was the first thing. And the second is, can we, by charter, encumber future councils if we are to put this stipulation in there, even if it is by resolution? And that question, Mike, you may be able to answer now.
If I'm understanding your question, if can we by charter, could you amend the charter? That's one question. I think what you're asking is, can we now with the current charter? And the answer is no. We can't bind future.
So we can't do this according to the charter now.
No, we can. This council can adopt a policy and adhere to that policy. You can't bind future councils.
That was my question.
Sorry.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Council Lady. Council Lady Allen.
Thank you. Follow-up question to Councilmember Weiner's question. Also, if Talia or someone can give us information on sort of what industry standards are and how rating agencies look at cities with regard to what their percentage of debt is relative to their overall expenditures. I mean, I'd heard 10 to 12% was kind of an accepted ratio that would keep you in a AAA or AA type of rating. Is that something that we could get information on?
We will research that and report that back to you.
Thank you, Council Lady. I have a quick question for our Finance Director. Have we had a debt agency presentation this year, or are we expecting one? I know there was one last year.
You mean with Moody's and S&P?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, they were here in January and reaffirmed our ratings, and we can share those results with the council.
Well, that would be marvelous. And I guess speaking with Council Lady Allen, I think that would be a wonderful thing to distribute to the committee. Thank you very much. Councilman Pridemore.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm just to appease a forgetful memory, but did we not at some point, isn't there a scheduled time that we did this? We do the bonding explanation of the debt service and that? I just, for some reason, remember all that in my chairmanship last 2 years. So can someone refresh my memory on, and just, we do that, right?
Yes, Councilman, that's included in that annual debt report that we submit when we file the budget.
Thank you.
So it would be available next week with the budget. Okay.
When we file the budget.
Thank you, Councilman. Now, there is a motion and a second for a two-meeting deferral on 616. Seeing no, Councilman Glover?
I just want to, I think this is good conversation. I think it's one that we should be a little more extensive with. However, what the various council members have brought up, if Mr. Jameson, if we can come in and tweak this, then we'll try and bring back something that maybe addresses it more specifically on some of the questions that I've heard today. And again, it doesn't bind future councils, but I don't think it's ever a bad idea to have a kind of a roadmap to say we really shouldn't exceed this amount. And I think some of the questions that are being asked, what does it do to our bond rating? What happens here if we exceed those numbers? I think those are good questions, and so I'm looking forward to hearing the answers as well. So, Mr. Jameson, if we could take some of that and maybe before we come back by deferring this, sit down and maybe tweak it a little bit.
Thank you, Councilman. And then we'll rely on Mr. Jameson also to keep track of these various questions that have been raised for an answer by our treasurer and our finance department.
Thank you, Chair.
So there's a motion and a second for the deferral of two meetings. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed. 616 is deferred to the second meeting in May. Resolution 2017-633, Councilman Elrod is the sponsor, approves an intergovernmental agreement between the State Department of Transportation and the Metro Public Works for the construction of a state industrial access road serving Centurion Stone. There's a letter to approve from Councilman Elrod. Is there a motion? Motion made and seconded. Seeing no one in the queue, all in favor of 633, please say aye. All opposed. 633 is recommended to the council. Resolution RS 2017-644, Councilman Kendall is the sponsor, authorizes the Director of Public Property to purchase a portion of real property for the use and benefit of the Metro Public Schools. There's a letter to approve from Councilman Kendall. Is there a motion? Motion made and seconded. Council Lady Murphy.
I had a question about this property. Do we have someone from Metro Schools?
Or
maybe the administration could, is this, could you give us some more information? Is this the National School of the Arts property or?
Yeah, this is for parking at MLK.
Okay. All right. I was just wondering, we've had a couple of, I've known in the news lately, there's 2 schools closing. Again, I might be off because I don't have my notes in front of me, but I know that we've talked recently about some developments and things like that and purchasing new land, and I know that we have schools closing, so probably during the budget season, I'll get questions to y'all ahead of time regarding our buying and selling and things like that.
Yeah, my understanding, this is a very small parcel for staff parking at MLK.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you, Council Lady. Seeing no one else in the queue, all in favor of 633, please say aye. Opposed, 633 is recommended to the council. Resolution RS 2017-644, no, I'm sorry, 644 is recommended to the council. My mistake. Resolution RS 2017-645 authorizes the execution of a memorandum of understanding between Metro and the Metro Development and Housing Agencies, sponsored by myself, Councilman Bedney, and Murphy. Is there a motion? Motion made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing no one in the queue, all in favor of 645, please say aye. Opposed? 645 is recommended to the council. Resolution RS 2017-646, Councilman Bedney, the lead sponsor, declares surplus and authorizing the grant of real property to certain nonprofit organizations and authorizing grants not exceeding $1,775,904 from the Barnes Fund for Affordable Housing to certain nonprofit organizations selected for the express purpose of constructing and rehabilitating affordable or workforce housing. Councilman Bedney, Kendall, and others as sponsors. Is there a motion? Moved and seconded. Council Lady Allen.
Thank you. Just want to ask a couple of questions, probably from Ms. Harris. Can any of these parcels, would any of these parcels be used for rental if they're large enough to put multifamily on, or are these all ended up being homeowner?
So a portion has already been approved for rental. This is just the homeowner portion.
This portion is specifically all homeowner, and that is
And
because
homeowner rehab.
and homeowner rehab. Okay, which is great because that's preserving. So is that because all of these lots are small lots?
Yes, these are all infill lots, so they will primarily be single-family detached housing.
Excellent. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Council Lady. Council Lady Weiner.
Thank you. I just have another question for you. In terms of selecting the certain nonprofit organizations, what are the criteria that have been established to identify who those people are?
There's an RFP process that was provided in September, and it was a 2-month process. The applications were provided back to a separate third-party review committee that reviewed all of the applications. It then went to the Housing Trust Fund Commission for approval, and that's what's recommended today.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you, Council Lady. Seeing no one else in the queue, all in favor of 646, please say aye. Opposed? 646 is recommended to the council. Resolution 2017-647. Cooper, Bedney, and Allen, the sponsors, declare surplus and conveying a parcel of real property to New Level Community Development Corporation and approving an amended and restated grant contract between the NLCDC and the Metro government for the construction of affordable housing units. Is there a motion? Motion made and seconded, and Councilman Mendez.
I'm sorry, which one are we on?
647.
I think I need to abstain on this one. Is this one with New Level Development?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'm on their board, so I need to abstain.
We will mark you as abstaining. And any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of 647, please say aye. Opposed? 647 is recommended to the council. Resolution 2017-648. Councilman Bedney and Karen Johnson as sponsors approves the selection of the Neighborhoods Resource Center by the Department of Codes Administration to operate the Codes Offender School. Is there a motion? Motion made and seconded. Any discussion on the Codes Offender School? Seeing none, all in favor of 648, please say aye. All opposed, 648 is recommended to the council. Resolution 2017-649 approves an amendment to a grant from the State Tennessee Emergency Management Agency to the Department of Finance to provide public assistance pursuant to Presidential Disaster Declaration to complete repairs and/or replacement to facilities damaged during the April and May 2010 flood. Moved and seconded. Seeing no one in the queue for discussion, all in favor of 649, please say aye. 649 is recommended to the council. Resolution 2017-650 approves a grant to provide meals that meet RDA nutritional guidelines to eligible seniors in their homes and in congregate meal sites throughout Davidson County from the Greater Nashville Regional Council to the Metro Social Services Commission. Is there a motion? Motion made and seconded. Seeing no request for further discussion, all in favor of 650, please say aye. All opposed, 650 is recommended to the council. Resolution 2017-651 approves a grant to provide transportation services to eligible seniors and handicapped residents in Davidson County from the Greater Nashville Regional Council to the Metro Social Services Commission. Is there a motion? Motion made and seconded. Seeing no one in the queue, all in favor of 651, please say aye. 651 is recommended to the council. Resolution RS 2017-653, Council Lady Gilmore, Cooper and Murphy as sponsors, accepts a grant from the State Department of Labor and Workforce Development to the Nashville Career Advancement Center to provide reemployment services and eligibility assessment services to help unemployment insurance claimants. Is there a motion? Motion made and seconded. Seeing no one in the queue, all in favor of 653, please say aye. All opposed, 653 is recommended to the council. Resolution RS 2017-654, Council Lady Murphy as sponsor, accepts a grant from the State Department of Labor and Workforce Development to the Nashville Career Advancement Center to use rapid response funds to pay for sub-recipients' administrative costs. Is there a motion? Motion made and seconded. Seeing no one in the queue, all in favor of 654, please say aye. 654 is recommended to the council. Resolution 2017-655, Cooper and Murphy as sponsors, approves a grant from the State Department of Labor and Workforce Development to the Nashville Career Advancement Center to use funds to pay for administrative costs. Is there a motion? Moved and seconded. Seeing no one in the queue for discussion, all in favor of 655, please say aye. All opposed, 655 is recommended to the council. Resolution 2017-656, Van Rees O'Connell as sponsors, approves 4 amendments to 4 agreements between Metro government and the State Department of Environment and Conservation concerning maintenance of closed solid waste disposal facilities. Is there a motion? Motion made and seconded, and Council Lady Allen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm just wondering why this, I mean, I'm guessing what we're paying is a penal fee in case we don't do it right. And why does it change from year to year? Is it because as it gets older, it gets less risky?
Yes,
That's the answer.
yes.
Okay, thank you.
But it's also not a payment, it's more of a letter of credit facility,
Okay.
what we would be obligated to. So it's a non-cash payment. Seeing no one else in the queue, all in favor of 656, please say aye. All opposed, 656 is recommended to the council. Resolution RS 2017-657, Cooper and Elrod as sponsors. It amends RS 2015-10, which approved an application for the 2016 Severe Repetitive Loss Buyout Project Grant from the State of Tennessee Emergency Management Agency to Metro to add the maximum prices to be paid for each parcel consistent with BL 2010-765. Is there a motion? Motion made and seconded. Seeing no one in the queue for discussion, all in favor of 657, please say aye. It is 657 is recommended to the council. Now we're on bills on second reading. Bill number 2017-660, Councilman Davis is the sponsor, authorizes the Metro Department of Water and Sewage Services to provide public water service improvements for both LVH2's proposed development as well as other existing properties in the area. Is there a motion? Moved and seconded. Seeing no one in the queue for discussion, all in favor of 660, please say aye. All opposed, 660 is recommended to the council. Bill number BL 2017-661, Councilman Coleman is the sponsor, authorizes a participation and maintenance agreement between the Metro Department of Water and Sewage Services to provide public pressure sewer extension through construction of sewerage pump station and force main for its development at Davenport Downs. Is there a motion? Moved and seconded. Seeing no one in the queue for discussion, all in favor of 661, please say aye. 661 is recommended to the council. And Bill 2017-662, Councilman Sledge and Allen sponsors, approves Amendment 2 to the ground lease for Rose Park between Metro Parks and Belmont University. Is there a motion? Motion made and seconded. Seeing no one in the queue for discussion, all in favor of 662, please say aye. 662 is recommended to the council for discussion, and that brings to the end the Budget and Finance Committee meeting for today. And then again, I just want to remind people, April 26th at 1 o'clock for the Director of Finance's presentation here in the chamber following the State of Metro meeting. And with that, I call this meeting of the committee adjourned.
This has been a service of the Metro Nashville Network. If you would like to see this presentation again, or for more information about this and other programs, visit nashville.gov.